Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 9 of season 4 of the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, where today we're here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on the last one that went live from Baku, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out there. There will obviously be spoilers in just a moment, but heading into this weekend though, I think we've had a couple more upgrades. You can see we've got a lot of upgrades in progress at the moment. There are 5 different ones getting put on the car over the coming weeks there. We're theoretically, the game still reckons we're a long way clear of Mercedes and Red Bull, but obviously if you've watched the recent videos from this series, you guys will be well aware that that just isn't the case so far this season. But yeah, like I said, make sure you go back and check out the last video then. But heading into round 9 of the season, we're just 1 point behind Valtteri Bottas here. 7 points separate the top 3 in the World Championship there, and you can see George Russell in 4th ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who is now within a race wins margin of his former teammate as well there. Daniel Ricciardo drops back down to P6, but still you can see the battle in the Constructors' Championship with P2 there as well. It is really looking intense between ourselves, Red Bull and Mercedes early on in this season. But we are going to have to take potentially a grid penalty this weekend, though we should be alright. Obviously, Canada, quite a power sensitive circuit, so we're going to swap out most of the engine parts before we jump into this weekend. Actually, no, we'll be sensible. We'll do it after, obviously, after practice, ready for qualifying. Obviously, we don't want to wear out those parts doing some pointless laps. Thinking ahead, let's dive into it then here for the Canadian Grand Prix. So here we are then, qualifying day at one of my favourite tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. We're here at Montreal, obviously a really good track when you get a lap hooked up around here. And obviously, as always, out in Q2, out on a set of the medium compounded tyres here for our first run. Now this track should suit our car quite well, obviously very power orientated is the Canadian Grand Prix circuit, but you still need a good stable car as well there, obviously to get you through these chicanes through all 3 sectors obviously around this circuit. So far purple in sector 1, but we always seem to be quick through there. It's sector 2 we lose a lot of time, and moments like that are not going to help us. Coming down in towards the final couple of corners then to finish off our medium tyre lap. We want to be aiming for a mid to low 7 here. I think George Russell has done a 107.4. I hope Hamilton's gone out on soft, so we set a 7.2, but Hamilton was on mediums into the 6s there. So that's been a mega lap by our teammate, but we might just both be able to sneak through with those times. So there we go then, Q2 results here from the Canadian Grand Prix circuit, and we only just scraped through into Q3 then. I didn't even think we were going to be close to the dropout zone, but you can see there just 0.6 of a second separating from 1st to 10th there. Only, what, a 10th of a second, 10th and a half, between Daniel Ricciardo in 4th, and what, Pierre Gasly, yeah, down in 10th place there, but Charles Leclerc out of Q2 here for the Canadian Grand Prix. Homeboy Lance Stroll as well out, not a major surprise there, joining both Renault's Lando and the AlphaTauri of Danny Kvyat there. But Mercedes are looking quick. Hamilton again is looking quick. Have we finally seen a return of Lewis Hamilton on this game? Sainz as well looking very feisty in that McLaren. Let's dive in then here to Q3. Here we go then, getting ready for our first run in Q3 from this Canadian Grand Prix circuit. We need one absolutely nailed lap around this track, as that is not going to help us as we try to get on to our first run there. A huge wheel spin moment heading out of the Wall of Champion chicane, but diving it down in towards the first sector, nice and tidy. I am really struggling with the balance of the car here so far in Season 4. That and the brakes have definitely not been my strong point early on this year there. As you can see, just threading it through the first chicane. Being kept fairly tidy so far, a bit deep through the second one though. Try and roll on the power there, short shifting number to 5th gear on the exit. Just trying to avoid the wheel spin as Hamilton, a 106.6 is once again a mightily impressive lap time coming from our teammate. Yeah, just no confidence with the back end as we head down in towards sector 3 there. We're 0.3 down on our teammate Lewis Hamilton, as that is a lot of curb heading through the hairpin there. Roll on the power on the exit. Hopefully we can just get a good run through the final chicane. We can set a decent banker time in this qualifying session there. You can see Ricciardo currently P3 on a 107.1. Hopefully it will be down below the 107s through the final chicane. Absolutely nailed that, if I do say so myself. Definitely couldn't have found much more time through there, and it's going to be a 6.9. So 3/10 off our teammate Hamilton, but that's a good baseline. We'll get one more chance. Let's make it count. Getting ready then for our final run in Q3. We need 0.3 of a second if we want to try and stick it on pole position here. We will be the last car onto our run, but we need to absolutely nail this if we want to at least try and get on to the front row. Our first lap wasn't exactly bad, but there was definitely a couple of small mistakes. As you can see, already green as we head out of the first couple of corners there, down in towards the first chicane. Definitely could have been a lot better than the first time through, and that is exactly what I mean. And heading out onto the back straightaway, and you can see we're still a couple of tenths up at the moment here. We need to try and nail this chicane as well. Nicely through there. A lot more confidence with the rear end. You can see it's a lot more overcast, so we're finding a bit more time in the car. Down in towards the final sector. Green through sector 2. That's exactly what we needed. This so far has been a really, really decent lap, and everyone else is going quick as well here. We're 7/10 up as we head down in towards the final chicane of the lap. Then we need to keep this tidy. George Russell a 6.1, so we're going to have to be brave still through here as well. Take as much curb as we dare there out of the final corner, down towards the finish line. What is it going to be? I think that's P2 on the grid for the Canadian Grand Prix. Oh, it's pole! I'll take that very, very happily. I thought George Russell had gone quicker than us at the end of the session there.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Mr. Monaco, Russell and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, there we go then. Pole position at the Canadian Grand Prix by just 0.09 of a second over George Russell here. Hamilton, our teammate, P3, once again very, very quick, but Bottas struggling down in 4th place ahead of the Red Bulls. And you can see 4 different cars from 4 different teams rounding out the top 10 there, with 4 different power units as well, I hasten to add. But it's pole, the second one of the season, the first one I felt I did truly deserve here of Season 4. Can we finally convert this into a race victory? The last race we won, I think, was Brazil last year. So it's been a long time, especially for reigning double world champion, but let's do this.
Bonjour! It's time once again to go racing here in Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world, and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
They've been avoiding mistakes and have had solid pace, so it's been a good season so far, but whether they can keep that up long term remains to be seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and Albon, Perez, Gasly, Sainz, and Max Verstappen, Leclerc, Kvyat, Lando Norris, and Stroll, Ocon, Raikkonen, Nick de Vries, and Kevin Magnussen, Latifi, Giovinazzi, Matsushita, and Jordan King. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Well, I cannot believe Anthony Davidson doesn't believe we can maintain this momentum over the course of a season. You know, we've been quick and consistent, but still a couple of small errors here and there have really cost us a good chance at race victory here. But rather surprised to see the Canadian Grand Prix is not going to be a mixed conditions race for, I think, the first time so far in the My Team career mode here. But we're going to go for a fairly simple 2-stop strategy. We might actually try and go medium, soft, soft if possible here. But safety cars can always intervene as well around this Montreal circuit. So we have to be ready for absolutely anything here today. Round 9 of the season, 10 races since we last got a race victory here on F1 2020. Let's just dive right into this. George Russell alongside us, starting on softs. We need a good getaway to hold on to the lead. 5 red lights. And it is lights out, and away we go. Cutting across George Russell there, but he is having absolutely none of it. In towards the first braking zone, and Hamilton has just completely taken us out through the first corner there. What on earth was that? From our teammate Lewis Hamilton there, just completely turned in on me. We've had a safety car instantly, because that has been a massive roadblock. Kvyat has found himself into P4. What on earth was that? Post-race Matt here then, just quickly watching the start. What on earth does Hamilton try into the first corner? I have got no idea what Lewis Hamilton was trying to make work there at the start of this Grand Prix. We'll have a look from his point of view of things. Here we go then, Hamilton off at the start. There you can see I accidentally swing across George Russell into the first corner. Hamilton gets boxed in and just goes full send in towards the first corner there. You can see a huge trail of cars behind us. Everyone gets held up in all of the commotion there. But yeah, very, very lucky we got that safety car. Let's jump back into the action. So coming to the end then of lap 3, the safety car is going to be coming back in. And to be honest, after that interesting moment between Hamilton and myself at the start, I think a safety car's probably worked out quite nicely for us. It's meant that George Russell couldn't romp away on those soft tyres as well as he would have liked there. And obviously everyone's taking a bit of tyre life out of their rubber, but getting ready to go green once again here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Safety car peeling into the pit lane. George Russell is going to lead the way. He's actually going to go into the final chicane there, as that is not going to help us. Did we get any front wing damage from that? No, we were very, very lucky we walloped that with the side face of the tyre there. But yeah, not the way we wanted to restart this Grand Prix. It's George Russell then. Not going to be under as much pressure as I hoped he would be off the restart there. But we've kept it clean. We're on 2 very, very different strategies here today as well. Let's just get our head down and focus. Hamilton's still behind us. Kvyat, despite making up all those places, had to pit due to, I think, obviously getting some front wing damage, unless, of course, he's picked up a master strategy by AlphaTauri here. But yeah, George Russell romping away. Hamilton applying the pressure. Well, I don't know if Hamilton's got problems or what's going on in this race, but you can see myself and George Russell already making a clear-cut advantage over our teammate here. Hamilton dropping back the gap now up to 2 seconds. So I wonder if he has got an issue here. We're just trying to get close to George Russell again. Try to apply some pressure. His yellow flag's out. Who's struggling? Don't say that's Hamilton. Don't think it is. Who seems to be having issues then? It's one of the Renaults by the looks of it. Thank God that wasn't Hamilton. I had a bit of a panic moment then. No, Kimi Räikkönen out. And we got another safety car. We may as well stay out again, but 2 safety cars inside 5 laps here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This is going to be one of those Grand Prix. So here we go then, end of lap 7. We're about to go green flag racing once again here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This time round, hopefully we can get a better start on George Russell, but most of the AI behind have taken the chance to pit here in this Grand Prix, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the strategy works out for the rest of the field. But we're applying a lot of pressure to George Russell down in towards the final corner. Try not to get any wheel spin this time round, and that's exactly what we've done. Green flag racing once again then here from the Canadian Grand Prix. Hopefully now it can be for more than just a couple of laps. And when will George Russell need to pit still? Coming to the end of lap 8, George Russell not getting a good run out onto the back straightaway there. He's going to cut across us in towards the final chicane, but we're just going to think better of it. No, George Russell into the pit, so no wonder he cut straight across us there, because he didn't want us on his outside through the final corner. So not a particularly wise choice then by Mercedes to pit George Russell straight after the safety car. But for us though, it is going to be back into the race lead here at the Canadian Grand Prix. And yeah, George Russell is going to be last place by quite a long shot here. 212 Motorsport got another 1-2 on the cards this weekend, as now we need to try and break away from Lewis. Coming to the end of lap 10 then, and Hamilton just has got nothing he can do at the moment to try and keep up with us in this Grand Prix. We're putting away a good few tenths lap after lap there. Lance Stroll, homeboy, into the pit lane just behind, but Charles Leclerc as well looking rather good. up into the podium places for Ferrari here on a set of mediums. I don't know if he pit right at the start or if he started on those mediums or what, but whatever he's done, things looking alright in the Ferrari camp as of right now. On to lap 13 though. I just cannot work out whether Hamilton is really struggling or we just really seem to have got into a groove this weekend. A little bit of a wobble as soon as I say that, but yeah, I'm feeling really quick and confident in the car at the moment, setting purple and green sectors lap after lap, so things are looking good, but where are we going to come out relative to the other guys? End of lap 14, Hamilton, sorry, start of lap 14, Hamilton is in. We're going to try and get these tyres one more lap after this one, despite the team saying that we do need to pit on this lap here. I want to try and take each set of softs, obviously 10 laps each, to the end of the Grand Prix, but Hamilton, he's going to drop down pretty much to the rear of the field. I'm going to look at it then. So we should be a few seconds ahead of Hamilton, but I think we're going to come out in that big train of cars, you can see, with the Ferrari at the head of that little pack. Coming to the end of lap 15 then. These tyres, the wear isn't actually that bad on them, but they are definitely starting to lose a bit more grip than I would be liking here. Plus, we don't need to stay on them to the end of the Grand Prix. The softs should be absolutely fine doing 10 laps a pop here. But yeah, very, very intrigued to see where we're going to rejoin. You can see Hamilton's actually stuck behind a McLaren and a Williams by the look of it at the moment. We should be ahead of that little train of cars. I've also made sure the front wing is set to no when it comes to changing it. We're obviously leaving it as it is because obviously if you missed out on the Baku Grand Prix last time at Azerbaijan, yeah, unfortunately I made a bit of a blunder in that Grand Prix there. Saying that, I wonder if Hamilton's had a front wing change, because we seem to be way ahead of our team. I reckon Hamilton's had a front wing change here, and if you look at that, as we head back out of the pit lane here, we are not going to be that far down the order as we head back out in towards turn 1. In fact, we're going to be able to hook it up around the outside of Valtteri Bottas here. Hopefully he gives us some room as we head down in towards the second chicane. We've got no alternative but to back out there as Bottas really does sit in the middle of the road. We got one of the Sergio Perez trying to obviously look for a move. He won this Grand Prix, if you remember, all the way back to Season 2, his one Formula 1 Grand Prix victory to date. Yeah, this has worked out really nicely then for us as we get a good run on Valtteri Bottas down in towards the next chicane. Maybe we can try and send something up the inside in towards the hairpin here as the Mercedes seems really vulnerable on his old worn set of mediums there. Up the inside we go. A bit late on the anchors, but we do get the car slowed down. We get the power down on the exit. We're back up into P4 here. Are any of the top three going to dive it in at the end of this lap? Danny Kvyat leads the Canadian Grand Prix. Things I wasn't expected to say here in today's race, but Kvyat dives it in. Ricciardo now re-inherits the lead of this race then. And can we look for a move on Sainz? Well, I was thinking we might be able to try and look for a move on Sainz maybe at the back straight there, but look at the run around the outside of the McLaren as we head down in through the first chicane, right around the outside of Carlos Sainz's McLaren Renault there, and we're straight back up into P2. Closing up to the back of Daniel Ricciardo as we head down through Sector 3 here. Is the Red Bull man going to pit? No, he is not. So Ricciardo stays out for yet another lap here in this Canadian Grand Prix, but can we try and line up a move on the Australian here? He's had one win so far this season and could be on for a second here today, but if we have anything to do about it, we're going to try and put pay to that. Can't quite get the same sort of run we got on Carlos Sainz a couple of laps ago. Obviously Red Bull a race-winning car, McLaren certainly not so far in Season 4 of this career mode. Saying that, they did have a fairly decent shout at Baku until the final few laps where the tyres fell off and they had to make an extra pit stop, but yeah, I think we're a long way off seeing McLaren being regular race winners in this series, nonetheless though. But can we try and get a move done on Daniel Ricciardo? I don't mind the back of the Red Bull, but I'd rather be in front than behind it as we head out on towards the back straight. Let's see if we can get a move done into the hairpin up the inside of the Australian, dive bombing Mr. Dive Bomb himself, and we're back up into the lead then of this Canadian Grand Prix. We're being very, very aggressive, but I think we're being calculated aggression at this stage of the race. I just want to leave nothing to chance. We need a win. Coming out of the final chicane here, really, trying to push for another fastest lap, and a 1:08.3 is certainly going to be enough for fastest lap at this stage of the race. We got 4 seconds over Daniel Ricciardo there as Perez and Carlos Sainz into the pits. But the team recommending a new strat. Not too sure if we want to look at this. What are they saying? No, we will be sticking... Well, we're going to go softs anyway, but we're going to stick to the softs on lap 25. Purple through the first sector again. Maybe we can get another fastest lap in. Coming towards the end of lap 21, though. Near enough at 2/3 race distance now in this Grand Prix. And the top 5 is starting to look a bit more normal again. For the first time in quite a few laps here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. About another 3 before we make our pit stop. There we go, Valtteri Bottas into the pits for, I'm guessing, the final time in this Grand Prix. So George Russell is going to be back up into P2 there in the top 3. Exactly the same as the start of the Grand Prix. But who's going to be up into P5 then here? Who else is having a good Grand Prix? It's Lando Norris for McLaren. On to lap 25 then. This will be our pit-in lap here for the final time in the Canadian Grand Prix. We have nicked the front wing ever so slightly, but that is probably not worth the pit stop. The front wing change, sorry, during the pit stop at the end of this race. Ricciardo still P2 though. Danny Kvyat P4 just behind Carlos Sainz. So those guys both on hard. So I wonder if they're trying to go to the end of this Grand Prix here. But so far, so good for ourselves. We've got 10 laps to go here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We should be out, I think we will still be out in the lead of this Grand Prix, which is exactly what we needed. I just want no drama. I want to get to the end, and I want 26 points. Well, I'll take 25. At least 25 points. Anyway, out onto the back straight then for the final time. You can see Ricciardo, though, his pace on the mediums has been pretty solid over the last couple of laps, but still certainly not going to be good enough to challenge us, unless, of course, he can pull off a miracle and go to the end of the race nice and tidily. Into the pits, then, for the final time here from Montreal there. You can see, yeah, we should be out comfortably still in the lead of this race, which, yeah, like I said, is everything we need. No more, no less in this Grand Prix. 2.3 second stop as well. Not too shabby. And, yeah, we're going to rejoin then comfortably ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who is going to be going for at least one more lap here. Let's see if we can get one fastest lap and bring this thing to the checkered flag. A 1:08.1. That is hopefully fastest lap guaranteed then. Unless, of course, someone does an absolute worldie at the end of the Grand Prix. But we've got 8 laps to go here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let's just get this thing to the flag. On to the final lap then of this Canadian Grand Prix. Oh boy, can Formula 1 be a funny sport at times. 10 races it's been since we last won a Formula 1 Grand Prix in the tail end of last season. And we've had a couple of chances so far this year, I'll be honest. Whether it had been bad luck, for example, at Monaco, where we were taking away any chance at the race victory after a DRS failure early on, or a bit of a blunder by myself, accidentally leaving the front wing repair on, yes, last time out at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix as well. We've had a couple of opportunities, but it has never quite came to fruition here. And despite, well, Daniel Ricciardo pulling off a bit of masterstroke on the strategy, we're still 12 seconds clear up the road. They're half a minute clear of Carlos Sainz, who looks to be getting a miracle podium as well for McLaren after they missed out last weekend as well. But F1 is a funny place at times. But we are going to come through to become the 6th different winner of Season 4 here. That now means both both Mercedes, both Red Bulls, and both 212 Motorsport drivers have now won a Grand Prix through the final corner, past the wall of champions. Finally, we're going to get that win here. I knew it would happen, but it's finally here.
Great job. You've done everything we wanted today.
A nearly flawless performance here then, and a commanding victory. What do you think it was, Ants, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
Let's move on to the constructors. The owner-drivers team moved to the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the Mclaren team today, as they make their way up the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we are then, guys. The end of the Canadian Grand Prix. And pole position, fastest lap and the race victory makes things look a little bit easier than they were over the course of today there. But Daniel Ricciardo comes through for P2 there, 11 seconds back at the end of the day there. But quite a quiet Grand Prix for him as well there. I'm really not too sure what strategy Red Bull employed, but it clearly worked at the end of the day there. Carlos Sainz, a fantastic job coming through for P3 there. McLaren's first podium, if I'm not mistaken, of the season, finishing ahead of the likes of Bottas there in P4 there. Our championship rival, or our main championship rival, losing out a lot of points in today's Grand Prix there. Ocon from 15th on the grid to 5th there, certainly worthy of driver of the day, with Danny Kvyat 12th to 6th as well. Another fantastic job there, just a 10th clear of his teammate Pierre Gasly there. And yeah, brilliant result for AlphaTauri. You've had such a quick car, but never quite been able to make it work early on this season there. Perez comes through for 8th. George Russell from the front row on the grid in 9th, ahead of my teammate Lewis Hamilton, just 72 thousandths of a second behind him, picking up the last points-paying position there. Albon misses out as well as Max Verstappen. Two big surprises there, as well as obviously Charles Leclerc down in 16th place, finishing behind Jordan King in the Alfa Romeo there. Not a good day out for him. You can see Latifi in 17th, ahead of Nick de Vries, Giovinazzi, Matsushita, and then Magnussen, the last man to the checkered flag there. Raikkonen, the only man not to make it to the finish as well there. But World Championship-wise, though, we finally take the top step once again in the World Championship there after that outstanding race victory, if I do say so myself. Albon still P3, but the gap has really opened up there to the Red Bull driver there. George Russell still 4th, just 2 points ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who moves himself back ahead of our teammate Lewis Hamilton as well there. Still plenty to play for. Carlos Sainz gives himself a lot of breathing room as best of the rest there. Perez jumps Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, still seem to be struggling, and Esteban Ocon jumps Lance Stroll and Danny Kvyat as well there. Pierre Gasly gets the jump on Kimi Raikkonen, as, yeah, that is all the swappers we've got from that Grand Prix there. But 212 Motorsport take the lead ahead of Mercedes there, the gap shifting to a 7-point advantage to ourselves there. Red Bull down to P3 as well. McLaren jump Ferrari as best of the rest as well there by 13 points as we head in towards the halfway stage of the year there. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we'll be back very, very soon for round 10, where we head to Paul Ricard. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips, as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.